Let's see. And we go live on Facebook, YouTube, and last but not least, we have Instagram. Peace and love, kings, queens, and gods. I am the Floating Yogi, and this is Floating Yogi Book Club, brought to you by Yogi, Urban Yogic Wellness and Education, where we are restructuring health and wellness in the community, one healthy habit at a time. So, as I always say, come on in, invite a friend. Matta-fact, invite about 10, because we about to go in, y'all. And speaking of going in, some of the people who help me go deep into these philosophies, into these practices, some of the people who help me be me, help me do what I do. We got my dude Brent. He's part of the crew. I encourage you to check him out for any of your digital assets that you need, from all these dope things that you see on the stories to check him out and see how he can be an asset for you. I also want to let you know that you can sign up on the website to be part of the growth gang, to be part of the tribe, to be part of the people doing, the growth thing. Boom, boom, bow, send, ha. And how you can do that, you can hit up the link that is pinned at the bottom, courses.ue.dc.com, and you can create an account and get access to all the services we have available to you. What else we got going on? There's a bunch of... What's good, T Gruff? Let's go with T. What's good, T? Let's see, what else is there? We also got my dude Payoga. He's part of the crew. DJ Tony comes from a dimension where people are our greatest resource. And a phenomenal one is, in fact, what he is. Again, check him out too and see how he can be a valuable asset to you. Actually, I'm gonna have him tell you a thing or two about some of the things he does, some of the things that he do.
All right, y'all. So first off, I believe in meditation. I believe we just need to breathe at least 1 minute every day. So I get up, I go live, I say I love you, we breathe for 1 minute, I say a quick prayer and send you on your way. 5 minutes of love, breathwork, prayer, positivity, just to get the day started off right. Then I hop on over to ue.dc on IG, and I hit that move to meditate button after answering the simple question of, did you move and meditate today, or are you bullshitting on your greatness? Only you know the real answer. We want you to share it with us. So, once you do that, join the Growth Gang. Next day, you get a shout out and a reminder to move and meditate a little bit more.
It's that simple, y'all. It's that simple. So I encourage you to check out all of the partners, all of the sponsors, all of the people who are coming together to create this collective and add their little bit of love to that they feel the community needs. All right, and here's a little bit of the love I feel the community needs. Let's get into the book. We're reading how yoga works. We're reading how yoga works, and where we at? We were talking about changing the old patterns and old habits and ways, the seeds that we've sown that create the perspective in which we view the world and reality. Hey, welcome, Buddha, blessing. And now we're getting into we talked about sowing the seeds, and we talked about watering the seeds, and now chapter 30, the gardening begins. Let's do it. Alright, chapter 30, the gardening begins. 4th week of September. Forget those old problems, exclaimed the captain. We have tons of new problems. But his face told me that they were really only problems of clarification and not really conviction. he had tasted a truly coherent idea of how our world actually works. An idea that made sense, an idea that showed there was real justice behind things, and most importantly, an idea that gave us and all those we love, everyone, a real way out of every kind of pain. And this knowledge had given his face a new glow atop the healthy glow of the poses. I mean, first question, if the sergeant doesn't lie about the rug, does he still get the extra money? Of course, I said. The lie and the extra money are in no way connected. There is no relationship of cause and effect between them at all. They just happen one right after the other. And so part of our mind, a very wrong part of our mind, jumps on that and says, the lie brought the extra money. But the reason why a lie doesn't bring the extra money is so obvious that the entire population, for as long as our world has been around, has simply terribly overlooked it. What? How, if it's so obvious, how by so many seeds? I said bluntly. But anyway, you must grasp this. If you must grasp, but anyway, you must grasp this. Grasp this. If a lie was the real cause that bought you extra money, then every time you tried to get extra money by lying, it should always work. But it doesn't. It's that simple. It proves that the lie is not the real cause of the extra money. He thought about it for a moment, and that ancient, powerful inner wind in that right hand channel moved as his hand moved for time with no beginning, and it blinded him once more. But how much longer? We were shoving his energy into this middle channel from the outside and from the inside. For now, though, he missed the idea and spluttered. But there are many other reasons why a lie might not always work to bring you extra money. Someone else had told the person the truth. The person had found out that you tend to lie. The person doesn't care if the weaver eats or not. Anything. No, I said, think carefully. Think bigger. Your very life depends upon it. And the lives of those two men out there. And in the precious two who hope to find it again. Good gracious. The real cause of the extra money should have and did actually dictate all the circumstances surrounding the entire event. The perceptions of the person who bought the rug, the perceptions of the sergeant, the amount of money there, and the fact that it was market day. The fact that the events all came together in exactly the way needed for that extra money to be paid. This is the real cause. This is what the real cause does. Aha. A lie cannot cause extra money. There's absolutely nothing similar between a lie and extra money. Okay. As well as expect the corn seed to grow into a watermelon. Lies don't work to get you extra money because they don't make it come. You can lie and maybe the money comes, or you can lie and maybe it doesn't. Wake up, Captain. It's not the cause. He sat back and breathed a giant sigh and then held his head with both hands as if it were a balloon. I mean, he said finally, it does make sense. It really does. Changes. But it's so... He looked out the window. It changes so much of what we do, so much of what we expect to work for us. And just think about this, I added. What would happen, in the world if everyone began to see what really caused things, what really causes extra money, for example? The captain turned and looked out the window and smiled ruefully. Well, for one thing, if everyone realized that lying couldn't ever work, then well, I suppose we'd all just tell the truth all the time. I nodded and let it sink in for a moment. But to go back to your question, the last one, at least, yes, it's true. Even if the sergeant hadn't lied, he would have gotten the extra money because he already had the seeds for the extra money. I mean, someone who owed him an old forgotten debt would have showed up the same day, or perhaps the uncle somewhere would have left him some money in his will, something like that. And that leads us to come to some other rules about seeds. That is, they cover everything, and they never go away until they ripen. Cover everything, he said. Cover everything, I replied. I mean, there's not anything around us or inside us which is not happening because of the seeds. No good thing could ever happen unless you have done something good to someone so that the seeds can be planted and ripen in your mind to make you see something as good. And no bad thing can ever happen unless you have done the opposite. Even the things that seem in between, things that seem just neutral, neither good or bad, are happening because of background seeds planted by the very way we misunderstand our world. Just constantly. I can see that. Constantly thinking bamboo is a pen. Could throw a curveball.
I can see it, but I would need to take the captain's journey to accept it as truth. But I can understand it.
Fair enough. Respectful. Respectful. And from the other side, no seed was ever wasted. Nothing we ever do, nothing we ever say, nothing we ever think ever fails to plant a seed. And each of those seeds will wait patiently in line for years and years, if necessary, to ripen upon us. They never, ever forget. And beyond that, there's one more important thing that you need to know about seeds. It's the answer to the first question you asked before. Why did they have 5 years of back pain if you never caused anyone else 5 years of a similar pain? I opened my hand and pushed a pit from a mango fruit into his palm. It was from the first fruit I'd ever gotten in my cell. A few days before, you see, towards the end of the season, there's no food in India cheaper than a mango. They all fall down at nearly the same time. How much does it weigh? I asked. He lifted the pit in his hand. A few ounces, he replied. Can't be more than that. And then I pulled him to the window to look out at the struggling mango tree outside. In that tree, if it ever gets watered and tended to properly, how much will it weigh? Why, I don't know, he said. I suppose in time a few 1,000 pounds at least. Right, I said, and we sat down again. And so it's something very important that you must understand. Seeds in the mind, over time they grow. They expand, they get bigger just as much as seeds in nature do. And they never get old waiting to ripen. They just never go away. There's nothing in the mind to make them age or spoil the way that physical seeds do. And so you see, even just hitting another person in the back once for a few minutes could easily cause you 5 years of back pain later. The captain suddenly choked and then stared down at the ground and then looked up at me again, almost angrily. Impossible, he sputtered. Impossible. What's impossible? I replied calmly. Out of the question, he exclaimed. 5 years of pain for a few moments of excess in the heat of anger. What kind of justice is that? I thought there was some kind of justice here. Why would they make the result of the seed, well, I don't know, something like 1,000 times greater than the seed itself? And he faltered then, and we both gazed down again at the mango pit, still lying in my palm. No, Too much, he exclaimed again. I can't believe that a seed in the mind would grow like those outside seeds do. I mean, thousands of times bigger than when they were planted. I waved around the room. Who does this room belong to? I asked. Why, to the king, he replied. Ultimately, it belongs to the king of the realm. And how long has the realm existed? I asked. I had no idea, and it didn't matter anyway. All countries basically start out the same way. Why, this is the 14th dynasty, said the captain, proudly. Over 6 centuries since the Great Council. Great Council? I asked. Why, yes, he said, shocked that I had missed out on the entire history of another of our planet's momentary empires. That is where they drew up the Great Law. The Great Law? I asked. Now the captain looked positively scandaled at my ignorance. The Great Law, of course, he insisted, setting forth the structure of the realm, the whole new idea of the government. Idea? I asked. Whose idea? Why, as everyone knows, or should know, the vision of the great forefathers for a new and better country. I paused for a moment. Started out as an idea in someone's mind. Then his eyes narrowed. I see what you're doing here. And how many stations are there like this one? Hundreds? Several hundreds? And thousands of buildings and tens of thousands of people working to govern how many hundreds of thousands more? Has not one idea in one man's mind, has it not grown into this country, and an idea of it in thousands and thousands of minds? Do not ideas begin and grow and then spread fantastically, just like any other seeds? Are they not even hopes that drive people to work at an occupation for their entire lifetime, for decades, born in a single idea as they began their careers? Come on, Captain. Mental seeds don't grow any less than mango pits, and probably a lot more. He looked stunned, as anyone who really grasped what we had just said should have been. And then he began a few minutes silent review of his entire life, I think. And then he said, has anyone at this point should say too. But is there anything we can do? I mean there are so many mistakes in every person's life. Can these seeds, can they be changed before they ripen? Is there anything like a counter seed or any special way of creating very powerful good seeds? Oh, Captain, I said, it's the perfect question. And the answer is yes, of course, yes. Or it would all be so impossible. We have a job. We all have a job to do. We have to try to get at the old bad seeds, the ones really planted in our minds in the past by mistake. Whatever old good seeds we have and need to reinforce and need cultivating. From now on, we need to be careful only to plant good new seeds and never negative ones. We need to learn every detail about how the seeds operate and how to create some new super seeds that will be powerful enough to change the way that we see the mortal nature of our bodies, and more. In short, we must become experts at the intelligent management of our mental seeds, as the master puts it in his short book. We must become as gardeners. Oh. Okay. Gardening. Hey, we got Dale coming through. What it do, my dude?
Yeah.
Hey.
Hey, Dale, good to see you.
But can you?
Yeah, I was about to say.
But do you?
Yeah, I saw it outline. He was there.
You want outline?
Hey, what up, Megan? Brent. All right. Good seeds, new seeds, super seeds. The captain nodded resolutely. Still obviously shaken by the review of the seeds he knew he possessed already. We went through the poses and the silent wishes for his men, and at the end of the sitting, he opened his eyes and said to me, "The strangest thing has happened." "What's that?" "Ravi, the sergeant. He has asked me to give him some lessons in yoga." I tried to look sufficiently surprised, but the captain wasn't really paying any attention to me anyway. Instead, his eyes were wide open, unseeing in some kind of near panic. "Well, what do you think I should do?" he said. "Do?" I asked. Why, teach him, of course. Help him to the best of your ability. But I never done anything like that before, I'm not quite sure where to start." "That's the easy part," I assured him. Get him to do his yoga for someone else's sake. To help someone else. You can't go wrong from there. Best kind of seed there is." The captain nodded gratefully. "Makes sense," he said. Then he paused, with a mixture of emotions passing across his face. And he continued then, "Yes. And he asked if he may bring his son here to the jail to have classes with you." "I love to teach children," he said. I said, "They are wonderful students, very open-minded to new ideas, very big ones. But that's not," he stumbled. "It's not that you see, it's that, well, he is a fairly serious problem, you see. He was hurt. He was burned, you see, rather serious in an accident." The captain paused. "Frankly, I'm not sure you'll be able to help him." I looked at the captain steadily, and Katrine came to me again. It felt so wonderful. Whenever that happened. "Captain," I said, "there's one thing you must be very clear about." "What's that?" he said. "It's about things," I said. "The way we make things, the way our mind makes us see things, the way that all things really happen. You see, if the way something like a pen really happens is the seeds in our own mind are forcing us to see it that way. And if we can change seeds like this around with some kind of seed management, with what the master calls gardening, then it doesn't really matter how big a thing is, you see? The same rules apply to pins, and to sore backs, and to bodies that die, and the loved ones that have left us, and terrible injuries. And two, I wave my arms around us. And to the whole world. Breaking the cycle tonight. Hey.
Circle. Breaking the circle.
Well, I was actually singing Breaking the Habit tonight, Linkin Park. But yeah, that works too. So both of us were, actually wrong. Daggone it. Next time. Let's go for it.
Next time? It's only 9 o'clock.
No, not that next time. We got 9 pages. We about to cook. Breaking the circle.
Right, I'm grabbing another beer.
Alright. Alright, let me go turn this little thing off real quick. Real quick, y'all. We ain't going nowhere, and y'all ain't either. Let's get it. Ooh. She already making changes. For those who catching up to date, she already making changes in the jail after she found out that she's been wrongfully imprisoned. He knows that she's been wrongfully imprisoned, that he can't do anything about it, especially after the incident. she's like, all right, you know what? I'm going to make the inside of this jail and the outside of this jail, I'm going to make it more free in here than it is outside. And that's been like the trend of what she's been doing, getting opportunities to get safe travel to different places, to talk to people, to get offerings, to teach people yoga, to help heal them in certain ways. And she's starting to get a whole bunch of perks. She's making rugs that are making more money than she was making before when she was with someone who was treating her like she wasn't nothing. Like, she's step by step strategically changing the world around her in chains.
Nice.
Like, we could all take a page out of that book.
Are all the other prisoners going on trips and stuff, or is it just for, like, are there any other prisoners in the story?
Yes, there's one other prisoner. There's Basuku.
Oh, wait, he gave her food.
Yeah, Basuku gave her food.
And she gave it to the dog.
And then he gave her more food so she can continue feeding the dog and herself.
Nice.
Basuku's cool. But yeah, he's another prisoner. He doesn't necessarily get treated bad, but you know, the prisoners aren't given food still. So he had some of the errand boys that were like his people when he was out, bring him food, and that's where some of the food comes from. It was getting spicy. But he's not treated bad, but
Yeah.
he ain't doing what she doing. He just getting some food. She out here like she doing the thing. Alright. Breaking the cycle. First week of October. When the boy arrived, he absolutely refused to come inside the bars. The sergeant did everything a good father would do, from playfulness to sternness, but nothing worked. Finally, I said, "Sergeant, sir, just leave him out there on the bench with something to play with. And then, if you would, please, just leave my door open, and please, I think it would help if you could bring my little dog in." His face darkened ever so slightly, but his new leaf was still turned over, and he grudgingly brought in Long Life. We had a wonderful play together. It was the first time he'd seen my cell from the inside. We were both resting in it, out of breath, in the front corner, when the boy wandered over, very cautiously, and gave my little lion that look that says, "Can I pet you too?" And of course he could. The boy was inside before he knew it. "Now, my puppy, you see," I said first, "he's been all tied up out back for the longest time, and so his legs, you see, I held him up. They got all short, you see." The legs got short because the dog wasn't running? Where's she going with this? Come on now. The boy nodded in sympathy. And so it would really be a big help to him and to me, you see, because we often have to walk long ways together. If you could, you see, come in before class a little early each time and give him a little pet all over, but especially on his legs, you see. The boy nodded quietly, and we started some new seeds going there. In the garden of his mind, before he left, he told me his name was Ajit, the undefeatable, and truly his heart was so. All right, Ajit. The most important principle a mental seed gardener needs to know is called the circle. I said next to the captain. "Circle?" he queried. "Circle," I repeated. You see, the way bad seeds work is very, very nasty. The worst thing about bad seeds that they make us plant more bad seeds. Sort of how all the crops that ever were in the world were only able to happen because there were seeds saved over from the crops from the year before. Get the idea? The captain nodded. Now the master is talking about this idea when he says the negative thoughts, they are their very root. Which negative thoughts? Captain asked. And whose root? We spoke about them already, I said, but this is where we tie them all together, because you need this to do some gardening as well. Let's choose a real example, and then I can show you how the circle works. Let's pretend, say that you have a boss here in the station. And let's say, like a lot of the bosses, he walks in every once in a while and screams at you, usually for something you didn't do anyway. Not difficult to imagine, Captain replied, obviously recalling his old days in the capital. Now, the first step in the circle is the habit we are born with. The one Master was talking about when he said we misunderstand our world. Things that are not themselves seem to us as if they were. He means, for example, that we are born with the habit of believing that the pen is a pen by itself, and not because seeds are going off in our mind and making us see it as a pen. And the proof that it's not a pen by itself is the cow thing. I remember, he said petulantly, but it was important to remind him that we were already all agreed on that part. Step 2 in the circle is what the master called selfness, meaning the tendency to believe that things are happening by themselves from their side as it awakens again in us, even in the womb, triggered by our first experiences of their objects. I call that nostalgia. Sometimes you can be having a flashback with something. You can be like reliving the experience and talking to someone who has never experienced what you're talking about, and it feels so good for you. And then they're like, okay, I'm glad you enjoyed it. You're like,
Had to be there.
yeah. It's like, okay, alright. Fair enough. Alright. I recall that pretty well, remarked the captain, but I saw his eyes that he was still with me. Step 3, I continued, a specific object, like your yelling boss, something that makes you feel strongly either good or bad, steps into your day. The tendency to believe that he is bad by himself, that he is bad from his own side, suddenly comes upon you so strong that your misunderstanding graduates into what the master called grasping. And maybe you've already learned the thing about the pen. I mean, maybe you already understand that your screaming boss is just like the pen, that you are experiencing an unpleasant boss at the moment only because certain seeds are going off in your mind, forcing you to see what is otherwise just an odd collection of colors and shapes and sounds as the boss who's screaming at you. And of course, he's not unpleasant by himself from his own side, even in that tense moment, because I paused to let him fill it in. Because, well, I guess he needed only a second to think about it. Because you see, there could be another office worker sitting right next to you, say a rival for the position of the boss himself, the position the boss gave you a few months before, and the other worker will probably perceive the same boss at the difficult moment as someone quite reasonable, who has finally become aware of how truly incompetent you are. Just so, I said. And you see, the boss who is unpleasant by himself, a boss who is unpleasant from his own side, could never be reasonable or pleasant at the very same moment, could he? No more than a pen could be simultaneously a confection, you see. So far, so good, smiled the captain. Good, I replied. So, at step 3, we already have you grasping onto and screaming boss and something unpleasant from its own side. And not because there are unpleasant seeds ripening within your own mind and making you see him that way. And by the way, I sped it past him. What kind of negative action do you think you'd have to have done in the past to get this unpleasant boss yelling at you now? What up, Nadia? Check out our retreat in Tulum. It's happening. It's lit. February. Let's do it. And now back to your regularly scheduled programming. But yeah, pause. What do you think would have had to be the type of seeds, if you getting a boss nagging and yelling at you, what would have been the seeds you have sown in the past to bring that boss into your life? Maybe being a nagging, yelling individual yourself.
I mean, even just having a boss to begin with.
Yeah, that's about right. That's about right. I mean, I feel like that's their thing. But, maybe I just talked too much as a kid. Or in my younger adult years. My adolescent adult years. What you got, Tony? I feel like you got something. Alright. Hey, what up, Tris? Baguette. Welcome.
I ain't got nothing.
Okay. We in the Zoom room, my dude. Alright. Okay. And what kind of negative action do you think you'd have to have done in the past to get this unpleasant boss yelling at you now? Oh, I don't know, he said offhandedly. I guess you must have yelled like that at someone else before. Right, I said in a rolled head. So on to step 4 in the circle, having forgotten now that you are seeing and hearing in front of you is happening because of seeds which you have planted in your mind. You begin to dislike the boss, you get angry at him, something akin to blaming your toe because you stumped it. In this chain of negative thoughts, you see, seeing things wrong as a habit came into life with you, seeing things wrong even as you see your first things, grasping to this wrong way of seeing things under pressure, and then finally disliking something strongly because of your misunderstanding of it. They are what the master calls the very root of the other two. What other two? Asked the captain. You tell me, I said. What happens when your dislike for the yelling boss, however misinformed it may be, gets strong enough? Well, that's easy, I answered the captain, his eyes misting over as he recalled his big office days. You yell back at him. Right. And so this chain of negative thoughts has triggered what the master called the things we do, step number 5 in the circle. In the things we do, they plant the storehouse, as he called it, which is step number 6. We plant new seeds in our mind. Seeds to see, he said. The whole process suddenly dawned on him. Seeds to see. Another person yelling at us in the future. He paused. Oh my goodness, he said, clutching his head in that way he developed ever since we started talking about the seeds. Oh my goodness. What you're saying is that our natural and automatic response to the negative thing that happened to us all day is precisely the one and only action that would plant the seeds for us to see the very same thing happening to us again. It's all one huge, vicious circle. I said, and smiled, despite the vicious circle, because the very first thing you need to stop an enemy is to know who he is. And the captain had just gotten over that hurdle. And you need to see, I went on, you need to see one more thing, how this all ties back into the channels and to the subtle winds and that flow within them. What we talked about from the very beginning with your bad back. His head went again, automatically from his head to where he used to hold his back. We spoke about two main bad channels that twist around the middle channel and choke it at certain points. The channel's called the sun and moon, running down either side of the spine. He recalled. Right, I said. And you also remember we said that within them run two very basic negative types of inner winds tied to the two most basic negative thoughts. I remember, he said, chewing on his lip with the concentration, mistaken thoughts about things running on the right in the sun channel and mistaken thoughts about our own thoughts in our own mind, what we used to see running on the left in the moon channel. Exactly, I said. And now you can begin to appreciate what a problem these two channels and their inner winds are. Well, the thoughts that ride up their winds, according to what we've been talking about these past few days, are the very root to our own trouble. I mean, the most basic tendency born inside us as we ourselves are born to misunderstand ourselves and everything around us. Right again. The captain's on it. I gotta give him that. I'm gonna get this out of my ass so I can see. That last yawn drew tears. Ooh. Okay, we still cooking. Let's cook. We in the kitchen. Haha. Right again, I said, and then I paused for a moment, looking out the window. I said, if you were really tired of having bosses or anyone else scream at you, what is the one thing you want to avoid at all costs? Put it in the chat.
Having a boss.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, for sure. For sure.
That's your goal, Scott. Number one goal is not to have a boss yelling.
They couldn't do it.
And if you can't, if you're fine not yelling at yourself, then...
I'd also say don't have kids.
Yeah.
Ladies don't do nothing but yell at you. They can't even talk yet. Everything is a yell at you.
And a no, even if they want it.
Yeah.
Oh, sure. Screaming at others, he said simply and truly. But what if the boss is screaming at you makes you very upset and you just want to scream back? Well, I guess you'd have to stop and catch yourself. Even though it might be very difficult in the heat of the moment, you'd have to stop and say to yourself, whoa now, wait a minute. I don't have to see this boss screaming at me now because of seeds I put in my own mind in the past when I screamed at someone else. No way. I'm not gonna set that vicious cycle in motion one more time. And then I think if you tried to remember this, no matter how much he screamed, no matter how upset you felt, then you'd have a good chance of breaking the cycle, the circle, right where it starts. Perfect, I smiled. And if you were able, in fact, if you were able in that most difficult moment to keep all of this in mind, and then And which channel do you think your thoughts would be running through? He paused and then answered, well, since such a right thought, well, then I guess it'd be cracking into the middle channel at least. Just so, I said. And any small amount of wind moving in the middle channel also means that much less wind to move in the side channels. Hey, what up, China? Welcome, welcome. Let's see. And so it would loosen up all the knots all over your body, he mused. The most powerful bad winds get deflated. You'd feel happier, and in your body, well, it would naturally get more and more healthy and strong. Then he stopped abruptly. Miss Friday, what would happen if you could get all the winds into the middle channel? I smiled on the outside and sang on the inside. He was getting close. But all I said was, it's coming, the way Katrine would say. What I really wanted to point out now, I continued, is just that it's hard to remember all of this in that one crucial moment when you need to, when the boss is actually in your face screaming. And so you want to give yourself the best chance you could to remember. I mean, you'd want to practice thinking about how it's really your own mind that makes you see things. You'd want to stop at odd moments throughout your day and practice just thinking this way for a minute or two. That in itself would head some of the inner winds towards the inner channel, giving the side channels less power every minute you could keep this kind of thinking up. Spending as well as a few minutes now and then to practice taking away others' troubles and giving them what they wish for, even just mentally, would have the same effect. And there's, of course, one last practical, doable way of healing inner winds towards the middle channel. It's going at it the other way around. Instead of working on your thoughts, which are like horsemen atop the horses, you can work directly on the inner winds. It's like coming in, taking the reins of a horse and tying him down a different road. And then the person riding on his back comes along automatically. We move the winds on purpose, and then the thoughts ride atop them are forced along.
This morning, within the first hour, the kids were allowed electronics. Matthew, the 8-year-old, got in a fight with the 4-year-old. So he got his electronics taken away for the day. And every he asked about electronics, we had to sit and meditate for a minute. And during that minute, I would talk to him and talk about why that behavior was unacceptable. Just 4 sentences here and there to help guide the thoughts, keep him focused. Because I told him, spanking you will take away the behavior, but it won't change and fix the problem. So this is going to take time. And it's going to take tomorrow too, because he got in trouble again before bedtime. But the point is, like, we reading this and I'm like,
yeah, I've been doing breathing with June. She's been rather handsy. And I was like, all right, what's our saying? Kind hands, kind words, kind feet, no hitting, no screaming. Those be like, it's some variation of them. Then we got hit pillows, hug people, because, right? Because if I'm telling you not to hit something, the energy's still there. It's got to go somewhere. So we need a release for it. We need some outlet. She got like some
big... You just reminded me, I bought the punching bag like 2 months ago. Ain't nobody got punished on that thing yet. Go outside for a half hour.
Yeah. Come back sweaty, tired, ready for a nap.
Just reminded me of that.
So I be in the room I'll be in the room, fake hit. I'll hit it a few times, and then she go to town for a minute, and then right when she start getting tired, what you doing? We still gotta get it. We ain't letting up yet. We gotta keep going, Jules. Let's get it. And then she be in that thing tired. I'm like, yeah, them arms exhausted, huh? What you gonna do? What you gonna do? So, just throwing something out there. Hit pillows, hug people.
Love it. Last paragraph. Why you do yoga?
Why you do yoga? Exclaimed the captain, catching on. You do the yoga poses, the exercise, because if you do them right, they can loosen up the knots almost by brute force, knocking on the pipes. And then at least some small amount of wind is sent towards the middle channel. By definition, as these knots are relaxed, and because some number of your thoughts are riding on these winds, some number of your thoughts themselves are already directed into the middle channel. And thoughts that start going to the middle channel are changed. Are they? They are. I nodded. Doing the yoga exercises, he started excitedly. It actually gets you ready to have the ideas we've been talking about. You hear them, you can grasp them better if you already been doing the poses he raced on.
Because different seeds are going to get different fruits.
Why, it's probably even why you yourself have been able to get all of this stuff, I said with a smile. And even why you got this stuff, I beamed. Sort of like you see starting a good version of the circle, building up its own power to keep itself going. I support those thoughts. I like that. Poses help winds, help thoughts, help poses again. Why? I never would have thought of that. He fairly squealed. And then I took him through a really hard yoga session so he wouldn't forget how good it was for him and his wins. She's always so generous and thoughtful to his practice.
I feel like you can probably relate to that.
Yes. Next week, the Fortress of Little Things.
Mutual trifling.
Because whatever do you mean?
Well, actually, it's trifling from a perspective, but I just see it as pure transmutation. Not karma, not guilt, not trifling, but rather this energy exists as the teacher, as the more knowledgeable one, as the one with more control in this environment. Even if it be a room when somebody's mad, you can take that energy and use it. So I don't even see it as trifling for real. I see it as transmutation.
I support these thoughts. For sure, an alchemical reaction happening there. A whole bunch of seeds sowing, growing, and doing some other crazy stuff that we ain't even expect.
Sometimes I like getting unsolicited advice from people I love, because if I don't want it, I transmute that energy. Like, if somebody really loves you, and they really want to help you, but they're giving you bad advice or advice you didn't ask for, then you can use that love and be like, oh, since you're willing to suggest that, are you willing to do this to help? Or what do you think about this? I mean, when you operate, the world doesn't have to work the way you think it does.
Yeah.
Just had another conversation about that. Oh.
I agree. The world doesn't have to work the way you think it does. And there's a lot of people who probably, there is someone else in this world who thinks similar to you. And now with the internet, we can find them. So we can create those worlds. That's weird. Well, that's suspicious. That's weird.
Yeah, no Yogis.
No.
We're still out though.
Yeah, we still out. Let's go get up off of this live thing, y'all. So with that being said, check me out in Tulum. What? Nadia Star and I, we're going to Tulum February 20th to 24th. It's gonna be a lituation, y'all. Bring it. It's happening. What else we got? Sign up on the website. Midday Mind right on Thursday. Book clubs Tuesday. What else is there? You can check out either the residencies in Sun and Moon Yoga in Arlington, Virginia, or Flow Yoga Center in DC. Arlington is Monday through Friday, 6:30 to 9, and Flow Yoga Center Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 10 to 12. We got a bunch of stuff coming up on these weekends before I get up out of here. And I encourage you to check it out on the website, uedc.com. And Tony got something too. Come on, drop that.
The joint that's pinned on IG in 2015. The Tranquillium Tulum?
Yes, Tranquil in Tulum.
Tulum, there you go. See, I pronounce it wrong.
See, bring that self so you can learn how to pronounce it right and figure out why you should.
A 4-day yoga retreat?
It's gonna be nice.
Yeah, huh?
It's gonna be nice. It's gonna be a nice little
How many
situation.
hours a day is yoga on a yoga retreat?
We gonna have it's gonna be options for 2 to 4 hours. We got a workshop, a couple workshops, some sound baths. We got some astrology talk.
Is it 4 or 5 things a day, or 2 deep things a day, or?
It's you can couple practice as one thing, right? You feel me on that? Practice, breath work, meditation, movement, mind, energy. That's all one thing. And then we're gonna have a astrology talk, or we're gonna have some type of chakra talk, or we're gonna have some type of philosophy. And maybe that's on the way to the excursion. Maybe that's on the way to the beach. Maybe we kick it at the beach. We don't need to be at a
It's a
certain
few months away, so I'm gonna have some questions.
You see what I mean? Oh, I love it. Please keep it up. But that's the vibes. We have things that we're gonna talk about and string together through the different activities to show we can be in these different settings and still learn. Not just learn, but grow, because learning doesn't have to be in a classroom setting. It's 99% of learning is experience.
Huh. If 99%, no, we gotta get off.
Because we can be checking you can read stuff all day. It can sound real good on paper. And once it smack you in real life, it's hold up. They just said all I have to do is just press my hand down, push through here and reach through my shoulders, and I should be able to do a handstand. Okay, do it. What else do you have to do? Get your hips over your head? Yeah. Get your hips over your head. Huh?
So because I didn't argue with you, I skipped to the end of our conversation, which is the quote, meditation is an experience.
Period. Period. It is.
Sorry I used you psychically like that, but I didn't think you mind.
I'm here for that.
But
Let's do
you
it.
told me that, by the way. I felt like you told me that.
To tell me that later while we live? Even though I didn't tell you that? Just like you didn't tell me, but you told me?
Because you said 99% of learning is experiential. So I just took all of old Jarrick and ran it through the Tony algorithm in my mind and was like, nah, that's what he said.
And here we arrive.
That's why I'm tagging you on Facebook in the quote.
Please and thank you. I'm going to reshare. With that being said, y'all, come on, check us out. Join the Growth Gang. Let's get it, y'all. Let's keep sharing and letting people know that there is a group of people who are here for their self-development, their growth and evolution, and we don't grow by ourselves. And we can go fast alone, but we can go further together. So let's go on this journey, y'all.